Colin Clark ranked him 10th for the year.
100%! What? 10? 10?
The 2024 World Rally Championship season is done and dusted. So what better thing for us to do than cast our eye and our rule over the performances throughout the season. This is DirtFish's top 10 drivers of the 2024 WRC season. And I'm joined by David Evans, Alistair Lindsay and Colin Clark. Hello, gents.
Hello, mate.
Elliot behind the camera has asked the four of us to come up with our own individual top 10 drivers of the season. Now it's up to us essentially to decide what we classify as the best performance or not. I imagine some of us have probably used some different parameters in that, but we have clubbed those four lists together to make one big combined DirtFish list. On my phone I have the top 10 that DirtFish collectively we four have decided, but I've got individuals as well.
Okay.
So I'll pick that up for bits where it's a bit controversial. But speaking of, in 10, we'll go from 10 to 1, descending order, because it's more exciting, builds up the tension. But we do actually have a bit of an indiscretion at number 10, because we've each chosen 9 drivers, the same across all 4 lists, but then one extra driver that's different between all 4 of us. So we've got 4 drivers currently equal 10th. And we now need to decide which driver is that going to be. So in 10th we have, we'll name who put them forward. David put forward Takamoto Katsuta.
Yeah, good choice.
I put forward Johan Rossell.
Very good
Alistair
choice.
put forward Dani Sordo.
Reasonable
And you
choice.
put forward Taylor Gill.
I did.
Which is much more of a curveball, I think, than the other 4. Maybe we start with that.
That's because he lives half his life in Australia now.
Look, now that, David, you
Endearing
may
himself
laugh.
to the locals.
You may laugh and you may joke. But as you rightly said at the start, in your wonderful introduction, different parameters. Because we weren't really, once again, we weren't given a hugely involved brief on this. So we had to set our own parameters. In fact, my brief might have been, this doesn't require a lot of homework, just put your top 10. So I did go with slightly different parameters. And yeah, you know, it wasn't difficult for me to come up with a top 10, and it wasn't difficult to put Taylor Gill in there. Taylor Gill, it's really important, don't look at me that way, really, really important that the World Rally Championship is a World Rally Championship. And I think where we see success from drivers from other parts of the world, we need to encourage it. And we need to acknowledge it. Taylor Gill is a young man who has done all of his rallying in Australia before this season. Never rallied outside of Australia. And Australian rallying, much as it's diverse in places and it's healthy in other places, it requires another Possum Bourne. It requires another Chris Atkinson. It does require for Australian rallying to get back to where it does, David. It does.
No,
we need to be.
But is that a reason to put him in?
It is. No, because but here's the thing. So it needs heroes. Yeah, and young Taylor Gill has come over to Europe for the very first time. He's never been to Europe in his life. He's come over to face this season in the junior WRC, and he's shown incredible pace. He's shown incredible consistency. He's won a rally.
I'm not disputing any of that, but take that back 15 years, we'd have had Conrad Roughton back in our top 10s.
We never had Conrad
was
Roughton
great,
back.
and we all loved him, but just because there'd been
Well,
no
you did his
African
PR.
driver.
That's the only reason you did.
No, I did.
Taylor Gill for me did an awful lot.
I did.
For a young man who's come into the junior championship against other drivers who have, okay, they're all limited in experience in the juniors, but against other drivers who have cut their teeth on rallies around Europe, and he's come out of the single country experience, and he's taken it to the likes of Jurgensen and others, and he's shown real
But has he
skill.
really?
Yeah, he has, and I tell you what, my money is on him for next year to win the title. That's how confident I am. I am absolutely putting him in my top 10. And I haven't missed out any drivers.
Alistair's looking at me, and
Well,
we're thinking the same thing.
Alistair's going to say Robert Jurgensen. Well, he's the next.
No, I'm not going to go that far.
Rally
Well, he is
driver.
the guy who won.
Jurgensen.
I mean, just imagine that.
No, but that's such a simple way of
Isn't
looking at it.
Winning.
But the point is that it's not his
Nonsense.
first year in Europe. It's not.
But this is his first year in Europe.
It's not. It's the second.
Well, it's
He moved to Finland big end of year before last.
Correct.
And then did the same training season as the other Rally Star drivers did in
He
Europe.
might have done. He might have done.
He definitely did. He definitely did.
He might
It's
have
not
done.
too
But
late.
it's so important that he is seen to be doing well, and he is doing well. And in my view, He's doing every bit as well as the likes of Jurgensen in terms of,
But
because
he's
of the
not
lack of
winning.
experience.
How is he doing as well?
Well, but it's not all about winning, David. You must know that. You must know it's not all about. No,
I
it's
know we
definitely
didn't
not.
have a detailed brief here, but
But you can't, so we'll just go with our top 10 with who's won the WRC, who's won WRC2,
in
who's
fairness
won
to
WRC.
Kalle,
did you
No.
put Jurgensen
not
in
having
as
that.
well?
I'm not having
Did you put Jurgensen in above him?
No.
No, so
in fairness, I like the sentiment.
because I'm not going with that, David. I'm not going with
But
that.
Jurgensen
You know,
doesn't have a
so
vast amount of experience.
When Sebastian Ogier won his 6th title in a row, you know, would that make him your natural number 1 pick as
No.
the guys? No, but
Of
there's
course
my
it
point
wouldn't.
then.
Of
There's
course
my
it
point. You
wouldn't.
would put
But you
drivers
can't
above him.
disregard when Jurgensen doesn't have that vastly so
No,
much
he's
more
come from,
experience.
he's
You
come
can't
from a
just
slightly
disregard
different
it.
background, but yeah, I'll give you that. I'm not buying it, David. I'm not
No,
going
fine.
there.
Who's at ninth?
I'm not,
We've got less than an
I'm
hour.
not
We
going with
can't-
drivers just because they've won.
I'm not saying you should,
You
but I'm
are.
just no, I'm
Well,
not. But
okay.
I'm saying that you really should have Jurgensen in above him because. So maybe just slot him in at 7th or something.
No.
Just for the sake
No,
of
well,
doing it. I'm not going with it.
the job we
That's
want
too
to do
easy.
here is collectively find out our top 10. So that's one of the contenders. It's probably safe to say that he's maybe not making it.
He's
It's on
maybe
one
not
side of
making
the,
it. I'm giving the boys that.
Alistair, why did you go for Sordo?
Bizarre.
Well, no, it goes back to the principle that fundamentally, Dani Sordo did the job he was required to do this season, period. Which
Yeah,
cannot
in
be
every
said
event.
of a lot of other drivers
No, that's
this
very
year,
fair.
who all
I
had
just,
some kind of incident. They all dropped the ball at some point.
Yeah.
I don't remember a rally this season where Dani Sordo
Yeah.
didn't turn up and do exactly what was required of him,
Yeah,
which
very fair.
That's very
this
true.
season is actually
Very fair.
quite high bar.
I did debate whether or not to drop Taylor Gill for Dani Sordo. Truthfully, I did look back and I thought,
With hindsight, you probably should have done.
no, I shouldn't have. I stuck to my principles. I might have got my research slightly wrong, but that's besides the point. But no, you are right. But whether or not it deserved the place in the top 10 again. Why would you put Sordo in the top 10? Did you put Jurgensen in your top 10?
No.
Right. Why would you put Sordo and not Jurgensen?
Yeah, it's a
Why?
good point.
It's a good
Why?
point.
Why would you do that?
It's a good because Sordo
Did you put
didn't-
Jurgensen in your top 10?
Yes.
No, you didn't. I know, I'm not having it. Look, camera can
In fairness to Kalle,
I thought about
I
it.
considered
Jurgensen in
it.
your top 10.
I thought about
No.
it. I think retrospectively that's a big mistake. Robert Jurgensen should be in our top 10.
So what,
Yeah, I
what
can't
by me
fiddle with
putting
that.
Taylor Gill, it's actually provoked a debate, and
Yeah,
but
it
it's
has.
also provoked a
It
little
has.
bit of
But equally,
debate as to why
we've only
we-
got a limited amount of time. And given
on.
that we're still on who
Number
was in
10.
10th
Yeah.
place.
Fair point.
Well, David, your driver that you was different to ours was Takamoto Katsuji. I think you did have, and you did 10th in
Yep.
Yoas. Why did you put Taka forward?
Because he triumphed over adversity and demonstrated the ability to succeed at the end of the season. And he's a lovely bloke.
triumphed over adversity.
Yes, he certainly did.
weak and
Colin.
lame.
Shut up. It's
That
Taka.
is weak
If
and
we get
lame.
one bite, it's for Taka because he's the nicest bloke in the world. Move on. Who's at 9th? Come on. Not another question about
No, but you're not going to ask.
We
I
need
don't
to
know
discuss
who did you have?
Rossell was my driver.
I agree with that
Yeah.
entirely. No, I do agree with
No,
it.
but
I
I think-
struggled not putting
No,
Rossell.
Russell, I think absolutely, but I think he was found wanting at the critical point of the season.
And my
Yep.
goodness me,
Yeah.
how he was, it fell apart. It fell
Yeah.
apart for him.
Yeah,
He fell to pieces
he did.
in that
And in
rally.
fairness, there was a certain slice of luck in the win in Chile as well. So
Yeah.
I can see, if we're to do a very quick vote for 10th,
Taka.
okay, hands up for Takamoto. Sordo. Yeah, there we go.
Taylor Gill?
Danny Sordo gets it. Taylor Gill. Yes. Danny Sordo's 10th. We actually mentioned it there, one of his rivals, but in 9th place in our collective list is Oliver Solberg. Looking at it here, nobody put him higher than 7th. That was you, Colin. David, you had him in 8th. So did Alistair. I had him in
I
9th.
make a confession.
You can.
I only put him in 7th because I knew David would shout at me if I didn't. So, no.
For me, it was nearly the one mistake in
Portugal, yeah.
But otherwise,
It was a good season. It was his best season so far.
and he
his
was,
best
fair
season.
dues, he was beaten by Pajari in Poland, or Latvia, fair and square.
Poland,
Yeah.
yeah.
But apart from that, he didn't really do a lot wrong.
No, he deserved. I thought, I did put him in 7th place, which might seem a little bit high to some, but I think he deserved it because I think he came on tremendously this year. He matured as a person as well as a driver, which I liked. And I think the two have to go hand in hand for you to be a complete package. And 9th seems a little harsh to me almost.
Yeah, well, I think we've talked about it
It'll be
elsewhere.
interesting to see what you boys put above Solberg.
Solberg. Yeah, well, I was going to say, there's some consistencies and there's some rather different swings, which we'll get to as we progress. But that was nice and easy. Oliver, 9th place in our list. 8th, and this is maybe slightly controversial, and I'll actually read out some of the positions because there was some swings here. Somebody had him up in 5th, that was Colin. David had him in 9th. Alistair had him in 10th. I had him 6th. Martin's Sesks. Now this is controversial mainly because he did 3 rallies and not a full season. But for me, and I think I've taken quite a similar approach to you, Colin, and I've tried to judge my list on how drivers have performed relative to the expectation placed upon them. And in that regard, Sesks massively delivered.
You know, it might only have been 3, but there were 3 seminal rallies. And I think he did a tremendous job, and he exceeded expectations enormously. And that's why.
Was CL, last one?
Chile.
Chile.
Chile was the
Chile was
weakest,
a
but he
difficult
didn't-
one.
yeah.
Chile was one that came about.
Yeah, but Chile was the obvious one to really, that was the barometer, because it was roads that he was completely unsure of. You know, Latvia, Poland.
I'm not.
If he'd shown there, it would have been a bigger statement, I think,
Yeah.
than
Oh,
Poland.
I
for
think,
sure,
I think,
but-
yeah, I think it would have been an enormous statement if he'd shown there. But I don't think it
So it's not
detracts.
3 seminal rallies, 2 and a
It
bit.
was 3 rallies, and his performance in total was seminal for me. And not just the performance, but the opportunity and what's come from that. So, no, I have no problems putting him in 5th, even though he did only do 3 rallies.
Yeah. Any more comments from you boys? Or are we
No,
Martin Sesks analysed out?
I feel slightly embarrassed I put him as low as 10th now that I've learned what everybody else put him. I have to defend myself at this point.
You wait to see where I put Ogier. You wait to see where I put Ogier.
Technically, I broke the rules slightly by considering something outside of WRC. I just remember back to the ERC season opener, and he was in the lead and he had the chance to get his season off to a great start, and he made a mistake. I think he hit a tree stump. And it took him out of it. Yeah, but it's still it's relevant to his season as a whole, I feel. And
Yeah.
don't look at me like that.
He went to the Philippines and he didn't win. Did you include that as well? In your assessment?
And moving on, for Alice's benefit, I think number 7 on our list, and we've used a bit of a ranking system to work out this list, just to put a bit more context behind it. And it's very, very close, actually between 5th, 6th and 7th. We're coming in 7th place. Again, potentially controversial given he was 2nd in the World Championship. Elfyn Evans, 7th on our list. Does that seem harsh?
I think a little. I almost felt I was being harsh when I gave him the position I did.
Well, I'll read the individuals. So Alistair, you had Evans in 6th, as did David. Yeah. Colin, you had Evans in 5th. I think I've nerfed him. I had Evans down in 8th on my list.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, it is harsh because, you know, we've talked about this a lot, haven't we? That Elfyn, this was a massive season of opportunity for him, and it just failed to click. You know, I think early doors he was playing the championship game, and it didn't quite ignite. We talked about Finland, you know, that big moment where Finland is an event he's won before, and was that one that it was difficult to come out and beat Rovanper&auml, but I think it is really odd that he's down there, but I think by his own admission, it hasn't been an electric season, you know, by comparison to what 2020 and 21.
I was maybe being a bit generous with him, but I just struggled. Much as I've said, I wasn't going to base my rankings on results, because that's the easy thing to do. I did find it difficult to go much below 5th for the driver who's finished runner-up in the championship. But, you know, that's what the records will show. He did finish runner-up, but you're right, his season was, at the end of the day, disappointing. So maybe it was.
Yeah, I don't think, even if we take any individual sort of context out of it, I don't think any of us would sit here and say he was the 2nd best driver this year.
No chance.
He wasn't, was he?
And I think it's quite telling also when we broke down how the points were scored in the Manufacturers' Championship on almost every occasion where both Seb and Kalle were around. Evans basically didn't contribute anything a lot of the time because his 2 teammates were ahead of him. You know, if he wants to be a championship contender, he has to be at that level more often across a season. He doesn't necessarily have to be running rings around multiple world champions all the time, but a little bit closer to the pace of his, let's say, more esteemed colleagues than he was this year.
More decorated.
We're decorated. Better choice. Thank you, David.
In 6th place, and under our point system, beating Evans by just 1 point is Ott T&auml. Now, This one again, high in the championship, third this year, won 2 rallies, was a driver's championship contender till the final round. On paper, all of that looks really strong, but as we've already discussed previously, there's
Too
just
many
something.
big mistakes.
Yeah.
Too many big mistakes at pivotal moments. Those 3 crashes in the middle of the year, the test in Estonia, the Finland, and wherever the other one was, it was too much, and you can't put a championship together with. I'm just remembering where I put Ogier. I'm just remembering it.
I'm just having a look at this. Yeah.
That's why I put Ogier in.
Yeah. Well, yeah. David's the only one that's gone for a different number 1 than the rest of us. Is all I'll say.
Did I put Ogier number 1?
I'm not saying anything, but a little tease for what's coming up there.
Should have put a bit
That
more
would
thought.
be ludicrous.
But on reflection, hearing that Tanak ahead of Evans, do we stand by that?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I think really Tanak's main failure, I suppose, if you look at it across the season, is the fact that he had that really wobbly section of the season where he was supposed to be at his strongest.
Yeah.
That was the moment to strike,
the
the
fast
moment
gravel.
to be like, right, I'm catching right up to the back of you, Thierry. I'm going to make you sweat. And for that to be the point where it all fell apart, that's you're missing your best opportunity, basically.
No, and obviously Japan, which I'm finding very difficult to forgive. Tanak. Where have we put him?
So individually, 6th in this list. Individually,
Generous.
nobody
Generous.
put him
Generous.
higher than 5th individually. So
Yeah,
it's
I think
averaged
6
out.
is generous.
Top 5 then.
Top 5 indeed. So we move into it. This one, some more swings actually in individual scoring. The highest peak I think was Colin. You put this driver in 3rd. David was 7th. Alistair was also 7th, and I was 4th. So there's a little bit of disagreement, I guess, about the strength of this season. Any guesses who we're talking about?
No.
Okay, that didn't work. The answer is Sami Pajari. 5th
Sami
in our
Pajari,
list.
yeah, 100% justifiable for 3rd place. I looked at drivers who stood out for me in the season, who stood out in terms of their performances. Pajari surprised me with his pace and his consistency in the Rally 2 car. And the car itself surprised me because it was a brand new car, and quite often we see with brand new cars, it takes a while, doesn't it, for them to iron out the niggles. But Pajari got the best out of that car quickly. Tremendously consistent season. When he had his opportunity in the Rally 1 car, he took it. And don't forget that morning. Remember that morning in Finland where it was pouring with rain and he made that mistake early on. A lot of young drivers would have given up at that point and thought, nah, I'm raining. Right. He didn't, and then he won whatever it was, the final stage of the day. Pajari, WRC 2 champion, enormously impressive and showing enormous potential in his performance in the Rally 1 car. Absolutely, I would have him every day in 3rd place. There aren't many other drivers who have impressed more this year than Pajari. I'm astonished that actually more if you haven't got him.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I'm astonished.
You've got him behind Tanak and Evans in your list.
Absolutely ludicrous.
Oh, this will be fun.
Just nonsense. A driver who we expected to be challenging for the championship, and I guess you could say he was, but he threw it away. A driver who gave away the manufacturer's title, and you put him above
Is Pajari as fast in a Rally 1 car today as either Evans or Tanak?
Listen.
Can I also just say one thing, David? You need to say
if you'd said,
I've dug Alistair out.
that's nonsense.
I can't believe you did that, Alan.
If you said rate them on speed, then it would have been a totally different top.
Which is
10.
what I did.
It's the top.
Yeah, a little bit me as well. I think you've made a compelling case there, Cole.
No, but
We'll move him up to 6th.
I think that's why this combined list is
Top
interesting.
5,
isn't it?
that's good.
No, but this is why
You'll
the
be
list is
happy with
interesting.
I think.
Yeah, because we've all come at it from different perspectives. It feels like you two are more aligned than Colin and I, and we're
I
finding
think
a
it sounds like Cole's done a
balance,
bit
but
more
I think
homework.
usually maybe slightly differently aligned from everyone else, but hey,
Well, this is the one that I think surprised me. Sebastian Ogier makes it at number 4. And the main reason for this
ridiculous.
is Colin Clark ranked him 10th for the year.
100%.
What?
Just remember, no, sorry, can I context? Behind Taylor Gill.
Yes.
this season this year.
100%. Taylor Gill has had the best year he's ever had.
Yeah,
Sebastian Ogier has had the worst season he has ever had.
He had the worst 3 rallies.
He's had the worst season. He has never had a run of 4 rallies in his career.
it
Go
4?
back to the days.
3. It was 3, not 4.
But you've got to remember how good the start on the first 6 or 7. He was never lower than 2nd or 3rd.
Plus,
He was
in
always
Greece, his
over-
rally was
agree with
almost
that.
over
I
already.
agree
anyway.
with that. But he was so un-Ogier-like. It's 4 rallies. The last 4 rallies were difficult for him.
Are we counting Japan in there?
Yeah.
But yeah, that wasn't his fault, was it, in Japan? It was a puncture.
Yeah, but it was a difficult rally. Right? It was,
I see.
But as we know, punctures don't just happen. You know, I don't buy this. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. You saw that tyre. And it was absolutely scuffed as scuffed can be, and there was a huge chunk out of it.
Yeah, but that wasn't all right flat. That wasn't a flat. That was still on the car.
He'd obviously gone in because it was the real one. He'd gone in too. We know he'd gone in too close.
But that was after. That was the stage after, though.
Listen, something happened. Punctures don't just happen, do they, Mr. Pirelli? They don't just happen. You know.
Former Mr. Pirelli.
No, listen, it is.
I think Gill at 9 and Sebastian Ogier at 10.
100%. Gill's had the best year of his life, and Ogier, I think, has had one of, if not the worst season.
Nonsense.
Give me another season that's been worse for him.
2009.
Give me another season. You tell me.
2009 or 2000 and what was the year that he left Citroën? 2011.
No, 11 he stuck it to Loeb. That was drama. I don't think that was worse. And considering where I do understand the point in considering where he's at. But
he's
it's
had
a bit
he's in a year that started brilliantly, that promised us all just a remarkable fairy tale, and then fell to pieces. His year fell to pieces. His year fell to pieces.
1-2 to the Manufacturers' Championship.
Fell to pieces.
Here's my counter argument. You're ranking Ogier relative to his past seasons.
100%.
I am ranking him relative to the other drivers in their current season.
And
there is one data point.
You can't though. There's one set of parameters. Surely.
You can change your parameters.
Colin, at the end of the day, if you extrapolate Ogier's results he did get across the entire season for the 3 rallies he didn't attend, he scored more points on average than any other driver in the championship.
22
he outscored everyone. He's
points
the
per
graphic.
rally.
I considered the graphic where I'm considering Taylor Gill's.
Did you do Taylor Gill's average points relative to Robert as well?
Didn't do a Taylor Gill graphic. I'm disappointed in that.
I'll whip one up for you.
No, I'll stand by it. Ogier's a difficult end to his year, and I think one of the most challenging years for Ogier. He was lost. He was lost. He just didn't know what we saw him.
Sebastian Ogier's never lost.
I am telling you, if you'd seen him at the side of the road in CER, which we did, and we were there, he was a most unusual.
He was briefly not sure where he was going, but he's never lost.
He was a little bit lost as to where it was all going. And no, I think he had a poor year, Ogier, by Ogier's standards.
He had a poor 3 rallies.
I was going to say, I think if you remember, I think there's maybe a bit of sort of recency bias in the. I don't know, but just to clarify where we all were, David put Ogier 3rd, Alistair, you put Ogier 2nd.
This was the man who put Taylor Gill.
And I put
9th ahead of Ogier.
So yeah, Ogier ends up 4th, and I think what surprised. I'll be honest, I was so sure that Sebastian would be in our top 3. The driver that's nicked ahead of him again on this point system by just 1 point, Kalle Rovanper.
Yes.
No, but I don't think Rovanper's had a better year than Ogier.
What?
Where did I put?
I don't either.
Where did I put Rovanper?
Hold the line, Kalle. You put Rovanper at 8th, so just 1 point ahead of Taylor Gill.
Exactly. 8th, 9th, and 10th. Rovanper, Gill, Ogier. Now that's a nice little sandwich to be in.
Just to add, David put Rovanper first on his list. You rank Kalle the best driver
This
this
is
year.
off the back of Killarney, which I have to say may not be a WRC.
I said this to Elliot.
That's no WRC, it doesn't count.
All right,
Honestly, that David.
But hang on a second. David. So what did Kalle do? He crashed in Sweden. He put in a snowbank in Sweden, did he?
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Then he crashed in Portugal.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he won everywhere else.
He crashed Finland, but he should have won.
Exactly. So to my mind, that's a win. So where does that go wrong? Poland, the one that nobody expected him to win. Remind me, Cole, what happened there?
No, I give him absolutely fantastic.
He won. Happy days. Kalle Rovanper, number 1.
So
every time.
So how do you justify putting, and I'm guessing...
La. Justify what?
How would you justify putting Rovanper ahead of
Taylor Gill?
Thierry Neuville. How would you do that?
Because I think I tried to do the maths and tried to average it out.
Had you had the Guinness or 2 at this point?
I might have done. But at that point, I think he was still scoring less than Thierry. But then I thought, but he still did better.
Look,
he won more rounds, didn't he, than Thierry?
He did win more rallies, but it's not the same situation. He had a far better road position in all rallies than Thierry did. It was a totally different...
is
Sorry,
that we
Thierry.
have got different parameters here, and that we
Your
didn't
parameters changed by the driver.
well, they did. They absolutely did.
Nationality, an important one.
Really important one. But if we'd gone with trying to do the math scares me a little bit, because that's dead simple. That's
I know, I was
a
trying to
scientific
justify
analysis,
it.
and we leave that to Alistair.
Yeah.
Right? You know, there's the scientific, there's the points per rally, there's your top.
I think
That's boring. So I do like the fact that you've been a bit balls, if mad, but a bit balls.
No, but I
Did you
can
just call me
understand.
boring?
We'll go on with that. I can understand.
Moving on.
I can understand your thinking though, because you're right.
Yeah.
He has won more rallies, double what anyone actually knows. He got 3, but close to as many stage
I have
wins as
another
Ogier, and he's done way less rallies.
exactly.
And so I can kind of
So
see where
move
you.
on to number 1
What was
on
the
your little
question?
The math
ranking
has
thing.
been-
What was the question? The top 10 drivers of the year.
Yeah.
Right. If you said who is the best driver that competed in
Kalle Rovanper.
Kalle.
Yeah, that's different.
That's a different.
Yeah.
It's something. You know that I'd agree with that. So I think maybe you were slightly confused, David.
I mean,
Slightly
there
confused.
is
I
justified.
totally agree with that.
Just to put some meat on the bones around where everybody else put in quite a big swing with Rovanper, actually. As I said, David had him first, Colin down in 8th, Alistair had him 3rd, I had Kalle in 6th, or 5th, sorry. So now we're into our big top 2. 2 drivers left. You in the comments may know who they are. Colin's already mentioned one of them. Has the world champion coming at number 1? Yeah. Number 2, Adrien Fourmaux. I think this is probably fair, in all honesty.
No.
Yes.
It is difficult, David, because he was a long way.
I love Adrien for Adrien. Sorry,
question
Adrien Fourmaux. He's great, but second best driver of the season.
No.
You know, please, Adrien, don't take this the wrong way, but no.
No.
Fundamentally, this process is flawed.
It is, but
It's
it's Elliot's
flawed.
idea.
No, David, this is where I find this difficult. And
Democracy,
I'm glad, do you know why I'm
rubbish.
glad why we're having this discussion, because it shows how difficult it is with these driver ratings after every rally. Because what I could do, I could go with your way of thinking, which is going, who won? Yeah, he gets the most points. Who was second? Yeah, they get the second most points. Who was third? That's not what we're talking about here. So we're not saying Adrien Fourmaux is the second best
But
driver
the brief
in
did
the
say,
year.
rate
No, but
the
it was
top 10
open
best
to
drivers of the year.
interpretation. This is what I was saying before. I think some of us have looked at it differently. I think relative to what we all expected, I think it's completely fair that he's second. I agree in terms of has he been necessarily the best performer everywhere? Is he better than Ogier? No. But I think here...
Was he better
But
than
how?
Wicked
So
than
then, I'm
Rovanper?
sorry, you're still
No.
not selling
But in
it.
terms of his performance and the expectation and the
Yeah,
car
how
and
good
the
a year he's had
circumstance
for
and how
him.
good a year he's had, yeah, totally.
That's how I've looked at it. It says-
Totally. Insane. Don't look at me like that, David.
But yeah,
Where did you put him?
David put him 4th. Alistair,
Okay, I was thinking of putting
Alistair,
him 8th or something. Oh yeah, no, I can see that.
Alistair also
Good
had him
choice.
4th. Colin and I had him 2nd. So that's how we've put Adrien. So yeah,
So
clearly it's
and
upset
Thierry
some
was
people,
top-
but
Thierry
and
was number 1?
Yes, Thierry was
How anyone
quite
could have
convincingly.
put anyone other than remind
So-
us, did anyone put Thierry
Who was
number one?
that? Yeah.
David may have had Thierry, but in
Moving
fact,
on.
you had him 2nd. So
Yeah.
we all put him 1st. You had him 2nd. I think it's
I think there was a little bit
fairly-
of contentiousness in there as well. Just wanted to be a bit different. Yeah.
I respect that as well. Really, I do.
That doesn't surprise me. Where was Taylor Gill again? Oh, my
Remember that
goodness.
name.
No,
When we go back to Rally Australia, glorious return to Coffs Harbour for Rally Australia, and Taylor Gill
wins
it.
by a minute.
Wins it by a minute, and then
Yeah.
you'll look back on this moment and say, that boy was a visionary.
Yeah, total visionary. That's what we always call
We
him,
ain't
you
going back to
Cole.
Australia. We really aren't. So,
I
you
think
know.
we have actually, this is no disrespect to Taylor Gill, but we've mentioned him a lot. If I can bring us to Thierry, and in fairness, I don't know if as much we can say. It's the obvious thing, he's the world champion. This was his chance. He took it. I don't think there's many that could argue, apart from David, that he is the
Led
best performer
from
of
the
the year.
first rally
Yeah.
to the end. That for me is enough. He led from start
Champions
to finish.
drive.
Champion season.
This is the thing with Neuville. Even the Saturdays when things went wrong, he just pulled that car to the finish, kicking and screaming, like Kenya, for example.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the car just wouldn't stop misbehaving. He still just went
Got
through
there.
it, road mode, EV mode, whatever. I'm going to the finish, and he picked up some points on that Saturday, as well as the excellent Sunday and Power
Which
stage drive.
maybe that was the easiest number one that we've had for years.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Moving on, what's next on the agenda,
There's no
Luke?
way to move on. I think just to calculate, or not calculate, to recap, sorry, the DirtFish's combined top 10. I think it's fair to say there's some disagreements in terms of where certain should be. But at 10 was Dani Sordo, 9 Oliver Solberg, 8 for Martin Sesks, 7 Elfyn Evans, 6 Ott T&auml, 5 Sami Pajari, 4 Sebastian Ogier, 3 Kalle Rovanper&auml, 2 Adrien Fourmaux, 1 Thierry Neuville. But thank you to these gents, as always, for their time. Let us know who you think will be world champion in 2025. Who impressed you? Impressed you throughout the 2024 season, and just what you'd like to see from us over the off season and into next year as well. It's a forum. It's a debate section. We'll get back to you in the best comments as well. So thank you very much for watching this, and indeed throughout the entire year. We'll see you in 2025.